Thanks for joining us on this Sunday morning. I'm meteorologist Leonard Josiah, and definitely we are now in the weekend and we are keeping an eye on your tropical weather. So much for us to unpack and so much for us to talk about. Let's get right to it. So during the course of last week, we were talking about an area of disturbed weather that was passing just towards the northeast of the Leeward Islands. Well, the 2025 hurricane season gave birth to its sixth named storm. Tropical storm Fernando. Take a look at where it's at. Take a look at where we are in the Eastern Caribbean Islands, well away from Antigua and Barbuda, well away from the Leeward Islands, well away from the British Virgin Islands. As a matter of fact, well away from all the islands of the Eastern Caribbean, well hundreds of miles towards the north of the island chain, and forecast to move out towards the northeast. So it's not necessarily a menace for us, not even for Bermuda. At 11 a.m. this morning was located just about 300 miles or so to the southeast of Bermuda, and the forecast track suggests that it will remain well offshore. Take a look at where Bermuda is, and it's forecast to head out to sea under the tropical storm winds and so on. And we're talking about where Bermuda is. Take a look at what the SWAT is. The SWAT is going to be remaining off coast. So in terms of tropical cyclone winds for Bermuda, tropical storm Fernando is not only threading the needle, but it's heading out right out to sea and not expected to be a menace for us here in the Eastern Caribbean Islands or any island for that matter. Take a look at your infrared satellite shot for today, all the way out towards the coast of Africa. We're looking at the intertropical convergence zone, but this is the area that we are monitoring right here, an area of disturbed weather that we have been monitoring. The National Hurricane Center says that it has a 40% chance of becoming a tropical cyclone in the next 2 to 7 days. Now, where we are right here in the Leeward Islands, the British Virgin Islands. They are right here. Islands further towards the south, including the Windward Islands, Barbados, and Trinidad and Tobago. Take a look where all this cloudiness is here. I want to stick a pin on this shot. It's rather important for me to do so you could see exactly where the clouds began to form right here, but in the time they have blossomed up here. So most of the clouds are seemingly dragging towards the west to northwest, towards the island chain. Is moving at a rather fast clip. I'm going to be taking you in a little bit closer. We are looking at the British Virgin Islands, with the Leeward Islands here, the Windward Islands right here. Take a look at them. We're looking at Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines right there, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada right down there, Trinidad and Tobago, and Barbados. And already you're seeing the cloudiness. Now, most of this cloudiness began over here, but during the past 6 hours, we realized that it is blossoming towards the west to northwest, or even towards the northwest. And that is going to change a little bit of the dynamics for us here in the Leeward Islands when we are talking about the potential impacts for heavy rainfall, etc. We're still going to be looking closer to that, but we're still saying that much of this is still for the southern Windward Islands, Barbados, and Trinidad and Tobago. Take a look at where we are right now. Well, the models are split right down the middle. The United States model suggests that their path can still be more here. The low pressure area still just to the west of Barbados as it heads out to sea. But the European model has a different scenario that can drag it a little bit closer to the island chain. And if I were supposed to pick a model, it seems as though that the European model, with all the cloudiness associated right here, is already moving towards the west to northwest and possibly heading in the track of the European model. And if I'm supposed to hone in on the European model, it's going to track it generally just to the north of Martinique and Dominica. Most of these clouds are likely to drift towards the west to northwest. Now, so which means to say there's something for us to talk about. If we are talking about the European model up here and the American model down here, I'm not going to be in this particular video talk about the Leeward Islands and the British Virgin Islands only. I'm going to be talking about all the island chain right here, because because there's a potential impact that we could see some gusty winds blowing through the southern Windward Islands or Windward Islands, Barbados, or even far north as the Leeward Islands. I'm not necessarily focusing on the British Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico for this time, because most of this weather is forecast to drift out towards the west to northwest. So what is it we can expect? Let's talk a little bit more about wind. Now, this is what we call our scatterometer data. It's a satellite looking at the sea surface, and we're going to be looking at the winds as it pierces through the atmosphere. Here is Barbados. This is primarily for you to note, and this was last evening. And take a look at the wind field around what we call the wavy conditions, and already you see these yellow barbs right here, 20 to 25 knots. We're looking at the red. Take a look at some of those reds. 25 to 30 knots. Definitely there's some gusty winds and some sustained winds right inside here. However, there's not a well-defined circulation. You're not seeing a circulation at all. You're seeing winds coming from the southeast, coming to the east and back down, which means to say the wave is actually, it's a wave right here, an open wave, no closed circulation. And that is important for us to talk about, because in the context of tropical cyclone, we want to see a closed circulation. So for right now, data is suggesting, as of last night, no closed circulation. But let's carry that a little bit further towards the west. Now, this was this morning. This is important information to have. I'm unpacking for you right now. We are looking at the wave conditions again. We're looking at the winds coming in out of the southeast, and you're seeing them blowing, and then it turned back this way, meaning that the wave is right here. But already, look at where we were last night. Look at where we are this morning. This morning says up here. So most of the weather is already northeast of Barbados, and Antigua and Barbuda, we appeared at 17 degrees north. So you're seeing that the Leeward Islands is in the dome of, let's say, about 20 to 25 knot winds going on into tonight, with the center, or let's say the axis of the tropical wave forecast to move on towards the west. So if I'm supposed to put it in motion, if the low pressure is here and the low pressure is forecast to move out towards the west, and most of that weather conditions is already towards the north, as it moves on by the low pressure and along with high pressure out in the Atlantic, means that you're going to have a tighter pressure gradient right across here, and the Leeward Islands and islands further towards the south, including the northern Windward Islands, they can be in the midst of some gusty winds going on into tonight. So keep in mind that if you're in the Leeward Islands to some degree, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, anywhere in this region, even far south as St. Lucia, Barbados had wind gusts today of the 35 to 3 knots, yes, in the midst of some heavier showers. So you can expect that, as I showed you, that most of the wind is in this cloudiness right here, forecast to move towards the west. We are looking at Antigua and Barbuda, with most of these weather staying just south of Antigua and Barbuda and the Leeward Islands. Possibly we can be into some wind gusts tonight, and we're going to be saying to you that if it tracks further towards the north, then we can have some sustained winds, breezy conditions, 25 miles to 25 knots or so, gusting in the region of 35 knots in the midst of some showers. What can we expect in the context of the rainfall? Well, let's put this into motion one more time, and we're going to be seeing where the cloud is. So right now, this morning, they were all the way down here. They have blossomed up here, and we're hoping that we can just get a clip or two of some showers. Why am I being so pessimistic about it? It's because of the dryness of the atmosphere around it. The dryness of the atmosphere around this particular feature means that these clouds that you're seeing right here, they can gulp some dry air, and during the course of the afternoon, there's a possibility that some of these clouds will weaken because of the dryness of the atmosphere and training into it. So even though you're seeing it right here, right now, some of these clouds might not even make it towards towards the west if the dryness of the atmosphere gets filtered into it. So but we are still hoping that some of these clouds will hold itself together by the time it reaches towards us here in the Eastern Caribbean islands. Some of the warm and unstable atmosphere in the lower levels can still blossom some clouds in our neck of the woods, and hoping that we can see some rain over Antigua and Barbuda, the Leeward Islands. We are so dry right now, and the atmosphere remains so dry, and the models suggesting that most of these clouds will stay just to the south, hoping though that some of these clouds will come further towards the north. Remember this, that the National Hurricane Center has suggesting that the plane, the Hurricane Hunter plane, might be in there this afternoon. And if it is in there this afternoon, it will give us so much more information as to whether or not an area of low pressure has closed off for circulation, and we're going to be keeping you tuned to whether or not this particular area might become a tropical depression by the time it gets to the island chain. So if you're in Antigua and Barbuda, the Leeward Islands, not so much the British Virgin Islands, but we're looking at the northern Windward Islands, islands further towards the south, Barbados, even Grenada and the Grenadines and St. Vincent, etc. All these islands here, we're looking at an active tropical wave forecast to move on towards the west and bring some squally type weather. And the National Hurricane Center is saying, regardless of tropical cyclone formation at this time, regardless of it, we have some moderate to heavy showers are likely over portions of the Leeward Islands, and more so for the Windward Islands. And if it tracks further towards the north, then we can be in a little bit more stick. Now, here is the point, where if you are in Antigua and Barbuda or wheresoever you are, and you can take a shot or two, send it over to us. Here is the area that you can send it. Your eyes are our eyes. We want to engage with you. Send it over to abmsiwatch@gmail.com. Again, it's abmsiwatch@gmail.com. And when the information comes at hand, we're going to be posting it. We are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and on X. We are your friends, the Antigua and Barbuda Meteorological Services. Remember your hotline number. The website is antiguamet.com. And remember to continue to monitor with us and stay ready. The weather will always change. You gotta respond to the weather. Remember, we at the Antigua and Barbuda Meteorological Services, we are going to keep you informed with respect to this area of disturbed weather. And when the information comes at hand, we will certainly respond with fast, accurate and reliable information. The weather will always change, but you keep weathering the weather in spite of the weather, whether you like it or not. I'm Leonard Josiah, wishing you a restful Sunday.